My name is Ashlee Simpson. I am one of the medical assistants here at Dr. Spear's office. I also do the performance testing as well. I got my undergrad at West Texas A&M and got biology and sports and exercise science. And then I went on to UT to pursue a master's in kinesiology. I have been working for Dr. Spear's for about a year and recently started the performance testing clinic. So one of the important aspects related to injury prevention is to monitor the intensity, frequency, and duration of the training program. Frequency and duration are very easy to monitor, this an objective measure. However, intensity is usually subjective. People often use the talk test or an overall feeling on a scale of 1 to 10. However, we can actually turn this into an objective measure to get a better estimate of the training intensity. If people do use the subjective measure of, yes, I can talk, I can breathe, I can sing, this can often lead to training errors and often injury because it's very subjective and there's no real measure of the intensity. So the way that we measure training intensity objectively is by assigning a number to it based on heart rate. Heart rate is a very good indicator of the intensity because as your workload or your intensity increases, your heart rate increases. So we measure that, with a heart rate monitor strapped around your chest, and then you use your watch. By training in certain zones, we can define parameters that will help you gradually increase your workout without doing it too fast, too quick, and too soon. So anyone can do heart rate training. Beginners, it's very good for beginners because it can slow them into it very gradually. We start in lower heart rate training zones and then gradually incorporate the higher zones, and even elite athletes as well can use the heart rate training methods because it helps them prevent overtraining, which that will also help the beginners too. So typically people use 220 minus my age to find their max heart rate. However, this can vary, up to 12 beats in either direction, so plus or minus. And the best way to actually measure your max heart rate is in a controlled setting, such as in a lab. So typically what we do that is we do a performance test, either on a treadmill or a bike. The test begins with a light intensity and then goes up gradually until you reach a point where you can no longer continue the exercise. Performance test can tell you your distinctive measures that will help tailor this heart rate training program. So even though you can find your max heart rate, we still don't want to use 70% as the cardio zone or 60% as the fat burning zone of your max heart rate. What we're specifically looking for is the ventilatory threshold. And this is the point at which pulmonary ventilation increases disproportionately with oxygen consumption during a graded exercise test. Basically, it's the exercise intensity that you can maintain for an extended period of time because you're maximizing your fat fuel as a source rather than burning through all your carbohydrates. Any faster and you'll burn up your gasoline pretty quickly. Once we find that ventilatory threshold, we then tailor the heart rate training zones based on that heart rate at that point. And then from there we can set a training program based on zones and time spent running in that zone. And testing should be redone every 2 to 3 months just because of the training adaptations that can occur. Personally, I use the Polar RS300X. There are more and less expensive ones out there. But shop around, find the one that's best for you. Ideally, a heart rate monitor that has a chest strap is best because that correlates closest to an EKG.